Hello there, welcome to the European Parliament in Brussels for this week's Talking Europe debate. Though our eyes are firmly fixed eastwards right now on Berlin. Political horse trading well underway in the German capital after last weekend's federal election. The results upset 16 years of dominance by Angela Merkel's centre-right CDU-CSU party alliance. This time, the centre-left Social Democrats taking the biggest vote share. And as things stand, they're looking to the surging Greens and buoyant Liberals to form a coalition. As the European Union's biggest and richest member state, of course, what happens in Germany matters a great deal for the rest of the continent. So on our programme today, we'll be discussing where the results might lead Germany and the rest of Europe with two members of the European Parliament. From the German Greens, one of those king-making parties, Daniel Freund. Hello.
Hi.
And opposite you, we have former mayor of Strasbourg, a French city, of course, on the German border, Fabienne Keller, who is with President Macron's centrist Renew Europe group.
Hello.
Hi there. Thanks for being on the programme, both of you. So first question then, perhaps come to you first, Daniel Freund. The SPD, the Socialists, took the biggest vote share, a big drop for the CDU, Merkel's party. But their final vote shares weren't actually that far apart, 25.7% to 24.1%. The Greens picking up votes, but no big dominance for any one party. What does this say about where Germany is politically? Is it undecided? Is it lacking a clear direction?
No, I don't think so. We have had the most open election pretty much since the Second World War, with no incumbent standing. And a bit like in many other European countries, there is no clear dominance of two parties anymore. But it is very clear which parties have picked up votes in this election. So I think there's a clear tendency now to say that the Social Democrats, the Liberals and us Greens will have the likeliest coalition at hand.
And your party, the Greens, made the biggest single gain of all parties, about 6%. How compatible, though, are you with the Liberals, the other sort of king-making party in the coalition picture? You know, they want to avoid tax increases. The Greens really want tax increases on the wealthy. And then, of course, there are differences on climate change policy.
I think the way that Renew and the Greens have been working here in the European Parliament can be an indication of where things might go, because we have a system here in the European Parliament where on a lot of files, a lot of votes, actually the Liberals and the Greens decide where things go in the end, because the large two groups can no longer decide alone. And I think the reason for that now being that the Liberals and the Greens are the first to open talks in Germany, explore where we have similarities. And I think on many issues we actually agree. We agree that climate change needs to be halted, that we want more investment in digital.
But it's the way you go about it that's very different.
Sometimes we disagree on the way we want to get to that goal. But if we agree on where we want to go, I think that's already a good start for a coalition.
Fabienne Keller, just coming to you. Angela Merkel, a 16-year-long steady hand, a steady presence in Europe. Can her successor as Chancellor continue that role? And indeed, should they continue that role as this steady centralising force in Europe?
Oh, the German people will decide for that. We don't know yet who is going to replace her. And so election after election, the Germans in the past decided to renew the mandate for Angela Merkel. Will they do so in the future? It depends on everyone, all the actors. She was stable in Europe. She knew 4 French presidents. But in all the cases, she developed a very constructive relation of the Franco-German couple. And this is important because we are 2 big countries and we are very different. So we have to help Europe find solutions to the main issues, help Europe to build a common future like we try to do in the Conference for the Future of Europe. So this respect, this friendship, this shared will to project ourselves together in a unified Europe is very important and is one of the bases of the strength of the 27.
Daniel Freund, on that question about Germany and its role in Europe, European issues weren't really that big in the election campaigns.
Yeah.
Do you see that, this is something that's lacking perhaps in the party's political direction?
Yeah, I have pointed that out also during the campaign with regret that, for example, during the 3 TV debates that we've had, European issues, international issues did not come up. There are some differences among the parties, and I really hope that we change the way that the German government approaches Europe, because we have seen many times under the Chancellor Merkel that there is a bit of a lack of will for example, questions of further integration, more collaboration with European partners, also questions of common investment. And I would hope that that is something that changes under the next German government.
Fabienne Keller, of course, France is the second biggest and the second richest EU state. It's also going to be taking on the EU presidency from January to July of next year. And of course, it's not necessarily a given that the German coalition will be fully formed by January of 2022. Do you see France and President Macron taking on more of Angela Merkel's European leadership? Is this an opportunity for France in that sense?
I wouldn't explain it that way. We really need a strong German partner in support of European projects. So France is expecting that the process finds a solution. The quicker the better, but usually it takes 2-3 months in the German system.
Last time, yeah.
So hopefully for Christmas, because we need strong support for the French presidency, because we are really willing to make steps forward in deploying the recovery plan, in progressing in social issues, in taking into account also difficult questions like defense and security, and the Europeans are expecting a strong Europe in that. May I say that we made great things during the pandemic with the Germans, like the contract for the vaccines. It was initially a German-French initiative that could be shared with all the member states. So it's very important in Europe that we can have a constructive relation and work and respectful between France and Germany.
I just wanted to have a word about foreign policy, which you mentioned. Angela Merkel she was the first German chancellor to come from the former East Germany. She was a Russian speaker, and it was said at times, particularly during talks over Ukraine, that this helped her to have an in, so to speak, with Vladimir Putin. And of course, Russia, such a difficult relationship for Europe at this point, such a strategically important relationship as well. Now, neither of the candidates for chancellor at this point in Germany have what Merkel had in terms of that relationship with the Russian language and culture. Do you think that this key relationship for the EU could change perhaps for the worse because of the lack of Merkel?
We as Greens have a slightly different view on the relationship that we as Europeans, as Germans, should have with Russia. It is also true that the former government pushed through Nord Stream 2, the pipeline that comes from Russia directly into Germany,
very controversial.
Going around our East German friends and partners, having created tensions in Eastern Europe. So we, as Greens at least, we want a clearer stance on a Russian government that is autocratic, that violates human rights, that poisons opponents, and that is something that should be more clearly said by the next German government. So yes, maybe less Russian speaking, but maybe a more frank speaking on what is going wrong in Russia.
Fabienne Keller, do you see that there could be a change in EU relations to Russia around this moment of the German election?
I largely share what Daniel just said. I think it's important that we have a united European position towards Russia. It's a geopolitical issue, a major one. And it appears that Russia tries to disinform in Europe. You may know they have a special television to do so. Of course, Russian-speaking people can have an easier relation, but that doesn't mean that they do not impose respect and kind of power controversy and rapport de force in our relations. It's the same issue with China. So we have to be stronger at 27 members towards Russia. We have to be united.
And just one last question. As we mentioned, it can take some time for Germany to form its coalitions after the 2017 election, 4.5 months, I believe. Does political limbo for Germany mean political limbo for Europe?
I don't think so. We're just one member state, we're a big one, but there is an interim government if anything needs to be decided. I also don't think it will take that long. It took that long last time because in the middle of the negotiations, the Liberals walked out and things had to be started from scratch. I think the relationship between the parties has evolved in the last 4 years. It's better prepared, I hope, on all sides. So it might go quicker than last time.
I hope so. Because it's much better for us to prepare the presidential semester of France for Europe, because Europe needs strong decisions. But let's be confident. The Germans will decide right. They know it's important for Germany and for Europe.
All right, thank you both very much for taking part in this discussion.
Thank you.
Fabienne Keller and Daniel Freund, thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks to you for watching the programme as well. Hope to see you very soon on France 24.